This is a little different look for me because I'm testing the Panasonic GH5 with no lights. I don't have one light on. It's all natural light. There's a window right there. There's a window back there. I have ISO 400, but I'm shooting at f1.2. And I just want to see how this works because I want to use it in circumstances like these. And sometimes I want to keep it really organic. Like I want some of the shots in my film to, have no lights. I just want to use natural light. I don't want to explain the whole thing because obviously when you're shooting a film, you don't want it to look like it's lit. You want it to look like real life. So I'm always going for that. But anyway, I'm just testing it. I'm using the Mikey 35mm f1.4, which is a 70mm full frame equivalent. And it's a cool lens, really cheap, and it works really great. So what I want to talk about today, and I'm doing this talking to the mic thing because I hate when this thing hangs off a t-shirt and kind of pulls the collar down. It looks really stupid. But so yeah, it's not bad. And the way this is set up, you could hardly see it anyway, but you can see it. I wanted to talk about two things. First of all, photography. Photography with regards to filmmaking and why I think it's so important to a filmmaker to study photography as well and follow photographers. And I started to feel this way. I mean, I learned this from other people when I first started filmmaking, but I didn't really get it until, believe it or not, I started watching YouTube. And I noticed that most of the photography pages were more artistic and creative than a lot of the filmmaking pages. Like a lot of the filmmaking pages are really technical. And I think that filmmaking is sometimes more of a technical craft because there's so much more gear involved and so many more people involved. And it's like a whole different thing. Even though you're both using a camera, it's different. But I think as a filmmaker, if you learn the fundamentals of photography, it's really helpful for your filmmaking. And I also happen to think that art, painting, going to museums, looking at people's creations that they made with a brush on canvas and the way that they observe light and depth of field and things like that, I think it really helps your filmmaking skills, the way you view the world, the way you see the world, whether it be realistic or surrealistic. I think it's really important. And so I follow a lot of photographers, and I really appreciate the fact that really, even though they talk about cameras and they talk about specs sometimes, basically what they do is they show you a million of their photographs. And even though sometimes they fly by too fast, I think that's the best way to learn about a camera. Like, learn the specs, but it's such a small part of it. It's not a big part of it because it's easy to learn how to deal with your shutter speed and your ISO settings. Like, it's easy to do that. It's easy to learn how to focus, especially if you use an autofocus. But these are skills that you can just practice. And really within a couple of months, you can go out and start shooting if you've never touched a camera before in your life. Really just a matter of weeks or months, you could pick up a camera, see how it works, and just go out and start practicing. Filmmaking is a little bit different, I think. You can get the foundations down, but really what you're getting down are the same basic fundamentals that a photographer is getting down. You're learning the settings in the camera and how to shoot and getting used to different focal lengths and different apertures and your depth of field and your lighting thing and learning how to shoot without any noise and, just trying to stretch the camera to get what you want. And so I really, really draw a lot from that, and I appreciate that a lot. And so, yeah, I'm showing you some of my photographs here. And I certainly don't consider myself, a photographer who would go do weddings or something like that. But I do sell my work, and I'm proud of it. And I apply the same rules that I apply to filmmaking. So what I get from photography, what filmmaking for my photography, what I get from filmmaking for my photography, first and foremost, is that I never take a shot that I don't understand why I'm shooting it. Why am I stopping this moment in time? Why do I think this is meaningful in any kind of way? Or am I just shooting? Like, yeah, if I'm just running around practicing or whatever, I'll shoot anything, but I don't like to do that. I like to think of my camera that it has film in it, and that I only have 12 exposures or 24 or 36 or whatever. Like, I have a limited amount as opposed to, a micro SD card or an SD card that, gives me, I don't know why I said micro SD card, but an SD card that gives me, thousands of photos in some cases. I don't like to think of it like that because I don't think we learn anything from that. And I also think that the more photographs that you take, the less chance you're going to go back and look at them. The less chance that they're going to feel special to you. If you have 18 different shots of the same thing, and if you keep analyzing like that, I don't think it's going to be special. I recently took one shot of this boat going under the pedestrian bridge up in Poughkeepsie, and when I saw it going underneath the bridge, I said, I want to get one shot. I want to really think about it. And I kind of blew it because I think I underexposed it a little bit, and so there's some chromatic aberration at the top of the photo, and I'll be able to get that out in post-production, obviously, but I wanted to show it to you here because I think it's a beautiful shot. And it looked like a metaphor for what's going on in the world right now to me. Like, we're going somewhere, we have no idea where we're going, and we're leaving a trail behind of where we were, and I feel small about that. I think everybody feels a little tenuous and nervous. I'm talking about in this country, but in many countries, we're going through what we're going through, but other countries are going through wars and things like that. And I don't know, that little boat in the big Hudson River really spoke to me in the way it was leaving a trail behind on a dark day, a rainy day. It was raining that day. And I just wanted to document that moment, and I captured it. I got exactly what I wanted to get, even though I kind of fucked up the photo because like I said, I think it was slightly underexposed, but I wanted it to be dark and moody. And, as I learned more about post-production and photography, because, obviously I'm a filmmaker, and so I know how to do that, but as I learned more about using, photo programs, because honestly, I've been opening up my photos in DaVinci Resolve. And obviously it's not made for that. It's made for moving pictures. It's a filmmaking software. So I got myself software recently that works with photos. So now I could shoot RAW because I couldn't open RAW files in DaVinci Resolve either. Or at least I don't think I can. I'm not even sure. But I wanted something that was made for photography as well. And I feel like it's a whole different opportunity to learn about something brand new, even though I've been a photographer for a while, but I feel like I'm getting more serious about it now because because people asked, I decided to go ahead and sell prints of my work. And so that makes me feel a little bit more meticulous about it and a little bit more responsible. Like, it's not just for me having fun. And also the way I like to print. I feel like I have to leave room the photograph to be printed on this really heavy paper where my prints look more like paintings when you get them. And the paper, even though it's not canvas, it feels like canvas. It's a heavy paper. And so when it's matted and framed, it looks absolutely gorgeous, but it looks like a work of art. And it might not even look exactly like the JPEG or the raw photo or whatever. It'll look a little bit different because there is something that changes when it transfers from my camera and then the file to the paper. And that's really interesting because filmmaking is kind of like that too. You have to think about the screens that it's going to be playing on. People are going to be watching on their phone. Are they going to be watching on a TV? Are they going to be watching in a big theater? You have to try to make your film look good on everything. But with photo prints, you're really thinking about the final destination of that photo, unless you're just showing yourself on social media or in your website or something like that. But I don't have Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. I'm thinking about how it's going to wind up on the page. So I think it's of great value for filmmakers to study photographers and go to their YouTube pages, because they're artists. You know, they're showing you their work. Filmmakers are talking about filmmaking. They're discussing it. People like Patrick Tomaso and, you know, like real cinematographers, Danny Gewirtz, people like that. And you can see a little taste of what they do, but you're not, you know, chances are for 95% of the filmmakers that you see on YouTube, you're not seeing their films. Danny Gewirtz, you saw his film, although not on YouTube. So I have a couple of films on YouTube. But generally, you know, most filmmakers are talking about filmmaking, talking about documentary making, but not showing it to you, whereas photographers are generally showing you their final work. Like, this is what they did. And then you can go buy it from them and hang it on your walls or give it as gifts or whatever. But I think that's a great gift, to watch an artist from his thought process, which is a really generous share, a generous spirited share, to seeing the final product is amazing. And so that's kind of my mentality with, you know, I've been showing prints from time to time, you know, shots that I've taken from time to time, and I'm coming from that place. But it's part of my filmmaking process. I mean, first and foremost, I'm a performing artist and a filmmaker, but my photography is getting right there now. And it feels like a really spiritual practice for me, which is what I'm all about with all of my art. You know, if it doesn't feel like something that I'm connected to viscerally, like in my soul, then I find that I just let it go after a while. Like, I don't care about it. One of the reasons I left the music business is because I came from a jazz background, which was incredibly spiritual for me, and people trying to turn me into a pop star because I could sing and whatever. Like, you know, people just took me into a whole different world, and, you know, I was cool with it. I was like, okay, yeah, I'd love to be a star. That would be great. But what it did was it took away my love for music. And so I still love music and I love listening to it, but I don't really play hardly at all anymore. I kind of let it go because it no longer felt like it was in my skin. Filmmaking, photography, theater, they feel like they're in my skin. They're like tattooed in my heart. And that for me that's what's necessary for me to put in the work and dedicate myself and commit my life to this kind of, you know, existence. That's what I need. To me, it's like falling in love, you know, with the right person. You know, unless you feel all of that, why would you give your life to somebody to share with you? Plenty of people do, but plenty of artists are in here half stepping too, and you could feel it. It just feels wrong, in my opinion.